Hello friends, this is your Trendline Investor providing the Nifty outlook and the Trading with Trendline Investor series for the 23rd of July 2021. So this video will be divided into two parts, especially for beginners or newbies to my channel. We'll have two parts to this video. The first, the Nifty daily outlook for the day, and the second, the Trade with Trendline Investor series. So if you're looking only for Trade with Trendline Investor series part, then you can directly head to the second part of this video. For people who are new to my channel, the Trade with Trendline Investor series is a positional trading series where I trade with a starting capital of 1 lakh, and I will be sharing my trades every day with you and also discussing all the learnings throughout the series on a daily basis, obviously. So I'm sure you'd find this useful, and if you haven't started following me on the series, do follow me starting today. But just another point before we start into the Nifty outlook. This Sunday, we'll be having a live YouTube session at 8 o'clock in the evening. So this happens every Sunday at 8 o'clock in the evening. So if you have any market related questions, if you have any stock specific questions, or if you want to know how to handle your portfolio, just feel free to ask your questions on the session on Sunday at 8 p.m. every Sunday at 8 p.m. So let's jump into the first part of this video, which is the Nifty outlook. Now, so here we'll be basically looking at what happened to the markets in the previous session, the key learnings, and my market view for tomorrow, which includes both the long plan and the short plan. So yesterday we had a beautiful green day after 3 consecutive red days, and what we have finally done is we have finally reversed from the primary trendline support. Now I've been stressing on this primary trendline support for weeks together, starting from my very first newsletter, and it's been going on for months now, that this is a very significant trendline support. And that's why we've again reversed from that point, from the same primary trendline support again and again and again. So we've been talking about this. So it has 1, 2, 3, kind of 4, 5, and the 6th time we have reversed from this primary trendline. So this is a very significant and also a very valid trend line. So it really acts as a very strong support. So the long-term uptrend, according to me, is still bullish, and my bullish bias is still intact. So we had actually yesterday morning we actually gapped up around 120 points, which was really a massive gap up. So I'm just going to delete this line, just focusing on the short-term trend lines. So from this line, we closed at 15,624 and we opened at 15,746. That was 120 points massive gap up, and we just kept inching higher in the first hour of the session, right? So there was no stop, it was just heading higher and higher and higher. So our plan is always to wait and watch when there is a massive gap up, right? Do not trade because there is no logical stop loss point. And even if you're going to trade here, and if you keep your stop loss here at the open, you do not know whether it's going to reverse or going to go up, right? But in hindsight, if someone had when someone had gone long here, they'd have made decent money, but at that point during the open, it wasn't a logical trade to go long. So also after such a massive move, and also when we are close to a resistance, so after the massive move, we're also close to a resistance, it really doesn't make sense, or it's not really prudent to go long in intraday, because the major move has already happened, right? And even if you go long, you might not make many points on the long side. So 120 points we opened, and then from there we went up also another 60-70 points. So that's 180 points move, when an average move is not even 1% in the last many weeks, right? So it is not really prudent to go long. So I would not advise to trade massive gap ups until there is a nice swing formation, right? Rather, what you could have done is you could have waited for a short trade and probably notice these 2 points of rejection here. So we had a low of 15,795.4, 15,796. So the moment we broke this, you could have gone short, but this trade probably would have hit your stop loss just before the close. So net to net, one would have actually ended up in loss today unless you had carry forwarded your positions from the previous session, or if you were selling something like a 15,600 put or 15,700 put, probably that might have not hit your stop, or made some money there. But I'm not an option expert, so that's why I don't want to touch any of the option aspects. So please plan before you trade and know what you're trading. That's very key. Now, as of yesterday's close, it seems like we are having an inverted HNS forming, right? So we have probable inverted head and shoulders in formation, and Nifty is also right close to a bearish trend line, right? So if you see that point here, if you've seen, we've had multiple rejections there, and we're almost close to that same point here as well, right? So we are just over there. So tomorrow morning, if we gap up, and probably in the first 5 minutes, if you have red candles, it'll be a good shot with that high as a stop. We'll come to that plan later. But as of yesterday's close, as I mentioned, we are close to a major resistance. So this is a major resistance. That's why we're nearing. And so if Nifty still needs to break out, if Nifty still needs to head higher, we need to break out from this inverted head and shoulders and also break this trend line. And then probably we are heading higher towards all-time highs again, around 950, 960 levels. But as I said, my bullish bias still continues. So what's the learning from yesterday? When there is a massive gap up and you don't get a consolidation in the first hour, or you don't get a consolidation during the day, then it doesn't make sense to go long or short, and you should wait for a consolidation before you take a trade. So when the move has already been so massive, and it has been a big move on one side, and if you see any major resistance, if you see any major resistance in the nearby area, it is better to avoid the trade, because in intraday, the probability of a bigger move reduces very drastically once a massive move has already happened, that too after a massive gap up. So do not go long when there's a massive gap up and you do not get a chance to enter. So just try to avoid the trade and take the opposite side of the trade if you want to. So what's my view for today? My view for long and short plan. Let's look at that. So if you're holding longs, because you broke this resistance just before close and we closed at all-time high, then your stop should be somewhere around 15,768 levels for now. Otherwise, the other long plan is if we go above 15,865, around this point, 15,840,850, then also you can go long, because we would be breaking this trend line resistance. Also we'll be breaking out of our inverted head and shoulders. So you can go long if you break out above 15,845 probably. So let's keep it safe, 15,845, then you can go long. But this can happen either with a gap up, or we open mildly positive or mildly negative, and then we cross 15,845. All right, so that's the plan for long, and as usual, keep your swing low as stop loss. Now, if you don't really, if you have a big stop loss, then you can keep probably 1 ATR move or 2 ATR from your entry point. So that's also one of the ways to keep stop loss. Otherwise, what's a short plan? Short plan is if we have to go below 15,765, around that level, if you go below that, then you can go short with the swing high as stop loss, and trail your stop loss as usual for targets probably of 615, 680, which is around here. Now we might reverse here as well. That's why targets you can't really be sure, especially intraday. It's very difficult to predict. So try to trail your stop loss as much as possible, or keep a fixed target and take profits. But rather, I would always trail stop loss. That's my preferred method. Also, if you go higher after we cross 15,845, if you go higher during the day, and then also we come back, again forming lower highs and lower lows, then also you can go short. And take a position on the short side. So but I overall feel that we will come down, probably tomorrow. If we don't gap up, then we're going to come back down one more move towards the 15,600, 700 levels, and then we might break and go back into all-time high again. But that's just my view, because this move has been one way move up. That's why I'm saying, but probably we'll have one more day of consolidation on this area also before we head higher. So that's my Nifty outlook, guys, for today. So I hope you enjoyed it. Now let's move into the second part of this video, which is my most interesting, where I take a lot of interest as well. So day 8 of the Trade with Trendline Investor series. So for beginners to my channel, this is what I'd be covering. We'll be having a quick look at the trades in Zerodha and what is the current status, what is the trades that have been executed. Then we'll have a quick look at the charts, and we'll see how our charts have been doing for stocks that we hold, and also the possible potential breakout points that we'd be looking at to add more to our stocks. And also we'll review a trading journal and update the stop loss if needed. Right, so let's jump into the first part. Let's look at the trades in Zerodha. Now today morning there was a little bit of probably not a miscommunication, but we did plan our GTTs for Shridik, Kanzai, Narolak and Jubilee Ingria. These three we did plan them, but our GTT trigger was, for example, for Jubilee Ingria it was 590, for Shridik it was 94.25, and we had 620 for Kanzai Narolak. and all the three prices of all these three stocks opened above a price. Now this happens sometimes, right? So especially when there's been a panic sell-off and the next day open massive gap up, this tends to happen. So but how do you enter, right? So now if you see, I clearly sent a message on Telegram, and if you haven't joined Telegram, do join my Telegram. But I clearly sent a message saying that all the prices are, way above our entry points, so our GTT will not be triggered. So we'll have to probably wait and watch. And if you see it open, we had a massive candle in Jubilant Ingrevia, and with massive volumes, we just kept heading higher for the first 10 minutes, and then we had a dip. Right, and if you see around 10:05 is when I said, probably that I'm going to revise my GTT from whatever that price was. So 590 was our GTT, and I said I'm revising this to 625. Now many might ask, how did I do this, right? So after a massive gap up, you saw this nice big wick on the 5 minutes candle, and then we had continuous wicks around that level, right? And you see here the volumes literally went almost to low, right? And that's when I thought, so actually I was on the 1 minute candle, not on the 5 minutes candle. So I was looking here, and if you had seen right at this candle and this candle, we had a nice move, a nice two big candles, and we had a good volume pickup. So I thought probably this is done, and we might head higher again. That's why I added at 625, but finally got triggered at 630. Around here is when I added, and that was the reasoning for Jubilant Ingria. But in case you can't, in case you have such gap ups, also what you can do is, wait for a breakout probably. Now instead of adding here, what you could do is wait for this point first to cross. Now if this point hasn't crossed, then wait for a consolidation. You see we have a high here, and if you had noticed the point, so first our GTD would have been here. This is just another method to enter, right? So enter above the highest point, keep order there. If you had a massive gap up like this, wait for a consolidation, and the first rejection, keep your GTD over there, then watch price, keep watching the price. And you see we had a down move, then we had a up move, right? Then we came down, again we went higher, we came down. So since we had this new swing high, lower high information, so this moves from there to here, right? And then we had, again we went up, we came down, we went up, we came down. So now you also are defining your lower boundary, right? Now if you see, actually here we had a nice beautiful consolidation before we had a breakout, at this point in time. So you could have probably entered even about 630, which is where I entered. So not much difference on the 1 minute time frame. But in case you don't miss gap ups like these, which tend to happen in stocks which are really in news, so it's just fine, right? So you just try to wait for consolidation, then you enter. But if you're in office, then bad luck. Probably just enter at a price that you feel comfortable in office, or just change GTT and just trigger the order. So that's one easy way to do it. But Shridig and Kanzai, also they were just coming down, so I thought after this candle, so probably we are done, and that's why I messaged at 10.9. This was also almost a gap fill, and I said let's enter Kanzai and Relax at 10.9. Also Shridig, I mentioned the same thing. This time, right, we had this big candle, then we had this move over here, and around this point is when I told let's add Shridig. Now this is a much better price than the price at the open, so it's always better to wait for consolidations, and that's how I've added Kanzai Nerolac, Jubilant and Shridig Cement. And yeah, we are in a profit of 3.6%, but since our stop loss remained the same, I did not go with the same position size for Jubilant. So a planned quantity was 26, but I went with half the quantity. Now the reason is, if I had kept the same quantity, my risk would have been 2,000 rupees. And as usual, I keep stressing on this point that risk management is very key. Now in case the stop hits, you do not lose 2,000, right? You want to probably first protect your capital rather than making money. Now tomorrow if Jubilant comes down, probably we will get a chance to add more, right? But at this point, it was not prudent to buy 26 shares of Jubilant. And the other two stocks also, I said I'll go with 3/4 of the quantity, because I reduced the stop. I increased the GTD from 94.25 to 95.25. That's a 1 rupee increase. I could have still gone and bought this. My stop would have been 1,000, but I just was a little conservative, and even in this case it was just 1%. So even if I had bought the planned 6 shares, 7 rupees, 43 rupees is what I'd have increased. So it's okay, I don't have a problem. So right now the position size is 8%, 11% and 12%, and we do have a good cash of 21% of our portfolio is still in cash, right? So that's the trades that we executed today. So Apar Industries, FACT, Tata Steel, Bhushan Limited is still there, and we have 3 new stocks. Now jumping into the second part of this video, which is looking at our charts, right? So switching to the daily time frame. And Apar Industries has, again, we had a good day of 3% move, so excellent candle. Now just at the fag end of the day, I think there was a move on the higher side, but that couldn't sustain. So let's see if there's a follow-up tomorrow. But for now, Apar Industries still looks good, not a problem. FACT had an inside day, still not a major move, no major moves happening here, but we are getting tighter and tighter. So probably we are going to break, I don't know when, but in the next couple of days maybe. So 1 to 3 more days maybe. So we'll break out in the next few days. The next one is Tata Steel, Bhushan Limited. Again, it came right. So there was this touch point here, and we came right close to the trend line, and we got rejected, right? So probably we are waiting for the event to happen. Probably it's the results, I'm not sure. But for now, probably 1 or 2 days more, can go really tight. But for now, again, there's no complaints about Tata Steel, Bhushan. We'll continue to keep holding. Jubilant Ingrevia, we had 3 massive days. Now it still looks good. Now overall, someone might ask, what is my target? I don't have a target as such. I will teach you how to probably look at risk reward and how to take a decision when to sell when we are in profits, but that's for some time later. Shridig, again, decent inside bar. So the good thing is SDV closed at 93.95, but we had a high till 97, so we are inside that close and the high, so still a good sign. Nothing bad happening there. And Kansai, again, we had a new high today, so fresh 52-week high, so all looking good. So these are stocks that we are looking at for today, and the pyramiding for now is only Apar Industries. So Apar Industries is the only stock, if you see, we have in buy. Rest all our stop losses have been set. In case you haven't set your stop loss, do set it, especially if you're working. You don't want to lose money at any cost. So Apar Industries is the only buy, and we are continuing to, so we are 80% deployed in the markets, so almost 79%, so 21% cash. I would be comfortable with this cash for now, and if we get any dips, probably we can look at trailing a stop and adding more, but for now there's no plan to pyramid more. Okay, so this is the portfolio level as of today. So today we are at 98,147. That's a total account value. Yesterday we had a value of 97,081. That was account value yesterday, and that's what I've updated here. Yesterday I updated this value, but today I've modified this to 97,081. So we are still in loss, so not a major loss, so nothing to be worried about. But today I thought I would discuss a very interesting strategy with you, because I don't have anything else to discuss today. So I'll teach you something about how to look for strong breakouts. So even someone pinged me and asking about a scanner, so I thought, why don't I cover it, right? So how do I look for long-term change in trends? So the first thing that you want to look out is in the scanner. I discussed about the scanner yesterday. CCI crossing 100. So CCI 34 period crossing 100 on the daily time frame, and CCI, sorry, not this one. Yeah. So CCI 34 crossing 100 on the weekly time frame is one strategy. So this is usually for long-term positions, and CCI crossing 34 on the daily time frame is a very short-term strategy, but you can combine both and have a good positional trading strategy. Now, for example, if you see here, this is the first time the scanner would show us Apar Industries, which is when CCI is crossing, in this case it's 208, right? And if you see here, we have 34 as a period, but we don't take a position right at this point. This position you can take if you want, it's a nice breakout, but what I'm looking for is a nice breakout in a short-term trend or a long-term trend. Now in this case it's not a perfect trend line, so probably I'd wait for this, but this is a much better trend line over here. And if you see here, Yeah, that's the first touch point, the second touch point, and the beautiful third touch point. So even if you break out of here, I would enter the stock only at this point when we break out, probably, after crossing this high. So right now is the perfect entry point in Apar Industries, even from a long-term positional trading perspective, even from investment perspective. So positional trading is what we are doing. So we are at the right point over here. So we have just broken out of a long-term downtrend here, and we're just entering into a new uptrend, a long-term uptrend, right? And you notice this every time in the stock, right? So if you see here, let's take this downtrend which we had, right? So for example, this was one of the first times that CCI crossed 100, right? So if you were taking this trade, then this was the long-term downtrend break, but here you are a little bit late, right? You're a little late here. So I don't really take this trade because I am late in this case, but probably I will enter the stock the next time it crosses, here, when it breaks here, because I have a nice consolidation here, then I break out here and I'm forming higher highs and higher lows, right? So then you get a trend, but this trade wouldn't have been profitable because this swing low would have broken here and you would end up in loss. And then again CCI came above 100 here, right? Now this trend line now becomes like this, correct? So that's a new trend line, and if you see, we haven't crossed the bearish trend line, right? So you extend this move here, and then probably here is when, at this point is when you get CC 100, but you wouldn't enter until you cross this point. So wait, and then here is the first time we cross. So if you see, we have still not closed above the trend line, right? So keep that high as the entry point, and then you enter above that high over here. And here, if you see, we got a very nice 20-point stop, but we got a good gain, and then we just kept heading higher. We had a beautiful trend. And if you're actually even trading short-term positional, you'd have been out somewhere here, right? But if you're an investor, then probably you wait and you trail your stop loss based on the swing high, swing low, and you could have got out somewhere here. Or some people also keep a simple indicator like super trend, and then they invest in they keep super trend as trading stop loss and they do it. Or like, as I always say, use pivot, right? So in this case, if you see pivot, right, I'm just going to remove all the trend lines. So we entered here, just remember this point. So when we crossed 161.9, that's when we entered. Then what we do is we trail a stop using the pivot. The first pivot trailing would be 326.3, but investing, probably you should not be allocating more than 5%, 10% portfolio. So if you want, you can wait for a closing. Now, for example, here the low was 326.3, and here if you see, we never closed below 326.3, even though low was 321, and then we just kept heading higher. We had higher, right? So probably could have come out, even at this point, if you see 711 was the low, but we never closed below 711, right? The closing was not below this pivot. So we keep heading, and then we finally exit here, right? Because here is when you closed below 683.2 is finally here. Let's you exit here. Now that's one way of doing it, but there are multiple ways to do investments. It's completely up to you, but this position you would have probably held for May 2014 until 4 years. So this position have been held for 4 years, and it went from 160 to 643, right? So this is a very simple technique to invest. Even if you don't know about the company, you don't want to be in trends like this, right? So you want to get out somewhere over here, right? Now let's just take one more example. Let's take the example of Shakti pumps, right, which is one of our first big positions. Right, now I'm going to weekly chart. Again, as I said, always use weekly chart. Now Shakti pumps, if you see, I'm just going to draw a trend line, right? Just going to draw this trend line over here, right? So the first time it came in a scanner was here, when we had this beautiful big weekly candle, right? And also, if you see here, we have broken into a new 52-week, not 52-week high, but a fresh high above the previous swing high. But for me, I need two conditions to satisfy. First, CCI needs to cross 100, and then I need the trend line also to be crossed, right, here. And then if you want to be even more strict, then take the previous high, right? So in this entire move, what is the previous high? So this was the previous high, right? Now take that point, and then you enter here. Now if you entered here 320, then you'd be already sitting on a to 100% return, 350 to 750, right? So that's almost 100% return. So, and you keep training your stop to pivots, right? So right now there's no pivot formation, so you still keep trailing your stop, towards a cost or something like that. Or if you want, if you understand some basics of this one, you can also trail your stop here, right? So that's how you can go about investing in markets, right? Or even if you don't follow all that and just follow the pivots, right? So if you see, we had a new low, a new low, a new low. Here also we had a new low, a new low, a new low. Then we started crossing this new low here. So it's just simply enter here and just keep trailing your stop based on the weekly, swing lows and swing highs, right? That's what I wanted to discuss today. So I hope you like this, but I'll be making a very proper strategy on this soon. But this could be used as a investing strategy in case you want to. So if you did like today's video, especially this last session, and also if you liked our Trade with Trendline Investor series, don't forget to share with your friends. That's all I ask from you. Rest everything is being freely provided. I hope you're enjoying it, and do subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. Thank you and have a good day. Take care. Bye.